something.
So are you ready?
Yeah, go ahead. You can put the USB.
From downtown Hunan. No, I'm in Hunan, China. It's 6 degrees. When we started the presentation, it was 4. And by the time we're done, it's going to be 20 degrees. So things are climbing quickly here. I'm giving a brief summary of the STLE Toronto sections. You've zipped ahead, but that's fine. Hold on that slide. Brief summary of the Toronto sections work both with the universities and colleges and our science fair.
Yeah, you see the volume. Just a second, Lorne.
Yeah, okay.
Here. In the future.
Technical difficulty.
At least it's not a lubrication issue.
The teams, that's.
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah, you have to join it and then it'll play on the speaker. If you join.
I'm sorry. What am I doing?
So, are we okay to go with whatever that we had, or
Okay.
I think, yeah.
Do you want me to go ahead or?
Please, yeah.
Test?
Yeah, go.
Was that a yes? Go? All right.
Yes, go.
So we're going to summarize the work over the last 40 years of the Toronto section for local universities and science fair. More recently, work that George and I have been doing both at the science fair and the Ontario Technical University and at York University in the engineering program. There's been considerable contribution from our section. And as we look at the early 2000s, I guess you're on the second slide, I'll go there. Several members of the Toronto section continue to support other universities with guest lectures. And what do we got here? Oh, go back a slide, please. Thank you. Interactions in the 1980s and 1990s. During this period, the Toronto section had annual student technical meetings, dinner meetings attended by the entire tribology course of Professor Hans Leithhauser from the University of Toronto, the mechanical engineering program. In addition, guest lectures were arranged, and I was fortunate to be one of them to actually lecture at Professor Leithhauser's program to support the tribology knowledge and provide opportunities to the professional interaction with the students. So it's not just a one-way lecture. You're actually able to interact and provide instruction in the real world or in the work world. Most outstanding achievement was a series of tribology lectures provided at McMaster University, which became the foundation for a permanent course provided in the following years by Professor Bilato. And that continued, I believe we looked it up until around 2006, George, or about that time period. So that there was an interaction, there was an ongoing prior to the recent times when we set up at Ontario Technical University. I see there's a line missing here. This must not be the most recent version, sorry, but that line that's missing is the Toronto section actually has set up an annual grant at the University of Toronto called the A.B. Platt Memorial Award, and 50% of this goes to the student and 50% of the grant goes to the engineering library, and it's based on funds and decisions on the funds in the pot, in the fund, so to speak. Next slide, please. So in the early 2000s, members of the Toronto sections continued to support local universities by offering lectures on tribology subjects. Usually once a year, about 100 students, engineering students, attended Ryerson. It's now the Metropolitan Toronto University. 1 hour presentations are given. Bashad is one of the individuals, or Ken Brown, who's online. I believe Bashad is there in front of you. Student memberships were offered and paid for by the Toronto section to encourage students to become active and to actually understand the background of STLE and what it can offer. Partnership with university resulted in the establishment of two informal STLE student sections. The first was at Toronto Metropolitan University, and the second was at Ontario Technical University, OTU, in Oshawa. Toronto section also pays the membership fees for key professors in these programs. I believe that Professor Cano, who is, I think, there in person, is one of these recipients. And Ethan and others in the graduating or in the class participating in the tribology class at OTU do receive the opportunity for these memberships as well. And one of the benefits not mentioned is it provides student registration for the annual general meeting, and Ethan gets to benefit from that rather than paying higher fees. Members of the Toronto section provide technical support to Ontario Technical University students for their final projects, including lending instruments, offering financial assistance for equipment acquisition, and in addition, guest lectures and ongoing work with the programs that are there as well. One point, let's see. The Toronto section offer a discounted student price at dinner meetings when there are dinner meetings. Next slide, please. 6 years ago, members of the Toronto section took on a significant step to support the tribology education by developing a comprehensive 10-lecture course along with extensive tutorials for local universities. The late Professor John Medley of University of Waterloo provided some support from some of the programs that he had initiated. In 2025, this is the fourth consecutive year that that the Ontario Technical University has successfully offered this elective course for classes of approximately 25 students each year. Dr. George Danuski and Dr. Lorne are continuously upgrading the lectures and course material, both from feedback and on as we find things that actually augment and make the program of more value. Recently, the course, including lectures and tutorials, was shared with the Institute of Machining Technology at TU Dortmund University in Germany for their inaugural tribology program. So they now have this material, and we've had one meeting so far to discuss it with them as they develop their tribology program based on the work at Ontario Technical University. Next slide, please. It has been recognized that the current education program has some limitations in teaching advanced tribology because it is more of a general nature, an overview to give an understanding of how tribology impacts engineering and engineering applications. To address this concern, the objective is to transform, and this is in the early stage of discussion, to transform the existing single tribology course into a minor program in tribology at Ontario Technical University. The program provides some undergraduate mechanical engineering students with a broader foundation in various fields, enhancing their advanced interdisciplinary knowledge of tribology, including aspects of organic chemistry, so that we can bring together a multidimensional, not just looking from the engineering standpoint, but actually looking from the chemistry side, some of the importance in the tribology program. Efforts are also underway at York University with Professor Reza to include tribology program based on interest from the lectures. And these lectures I have done, and I do annual 2 lectures at the engineering program, the design engineering program at York University. And over the last 3 years, and that interest is showing that the program would have or could have a life, at least starting off with a course like at Ontario Technical University. To enhance tribology education, we propose a meeting. This is to enhance it and grow, because there doesn't seem to be, or there aren't many universities providing basis and understanding of tribology. At the annual STLE meeting, a meeting of university professors and those of interest would be proposed to set up a foundation or interactionary body to actually assist in the development of these programs at more than just the two universities in Canada, and we believe Auburn down in the US. So that's the overview for the university side, and we'll take some questions in a few seconds if there's one. The other program that has been ongoing is the Toronto Science Fair. You can turn the slide, please. Further hands. Okay, turn the slide, please. We've covered two of them. It's a different program here. Another achievement of the STLE Toronto section is their extended support for the Toronto Science Fair program for students in grades 7 to 12. Myself and Dennis Taylor had initiated the involvement in the early 1990s, and we had a pause between 2007 to 2020 when the STLE Toronto section again resumed support of these programs. Usually it was choosing a project from the science fair that had a tribology base, and then giving an award to the students, monetary as well as a certificate. And then in 2020, we went to 3 awards. It was virtual at that time because of COVID. Special awards with financial prizes for the projects that showed principles of tribology, the effects of friction, possible ways to improve friction wear and lubrication for global benefit. The intent is to extend the current STLE Toronto section education program to secondary schools as well. So we've been giving the awards, getting student interest and involvement. Last year, and we'll talk about that in the next section, but I believe there were 12 presentations or 12 projects, and of those we had 3 chosen. The intent is to move it into the classroom because the teachers and the instructors have an interest in tribology at these earlier ages, prior to what we had anticipated before. And we would go out and provide projects, guest lectures, any support to the classroom, and that has been extended at this point in time. Next slide, please. Oh, you don't, yes, there you go. No, you don't have a slide?
No, that's all. No, this
I
is
don't know what
the,
version you have, but anyway, the next slide that was there was actually talking about the judges listened to a 2 to 3 minute presentation of the students at the Toronto Science Fair. It's held at the Scarborough campus of the University of Toronto. We have 15 to 20 minutes of interaction with the student, questions, review, and we fill in a form that covers communication through display, communication through interview, and investigation. What did they do and what would they change? And understand, as I said, last year we had 12, we picked 3. Oftentimes students do it together, 2 students. This year, unfortunately, as I'm not in Toronto, I'm here in China, Jim Arner and George Stanewski will be the judges for the Toronto section, and I will send out the award certificates in the end, but the presentation happens, what have we got, on the Sunday, sorry, it's on Saturday this year, will be taking place at the end of March before I return home. So kind of a quick overview. There's also a package of information that was put together for Frank, and I believe that is there as well, a Word document. Any questions?
I don't
Probably
have a
not.
question, but this is Jack McKenna, and I would make the suggestion that, kudos to you guys. You're really, doing yeoman's work to reach the next generation. One thing you might want to consider is doing some STEM exhibits, and the STLE national organization has some. So if you want to reach out to Carl there, or Bruce, or Bob, any of those people in the national organization could direct you to